much of a pain.
And we can still upload it later.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for joining us today, Rachel. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for
I
having.
Sure. I wanted to introduce you to our nice little digital entrepreneurs community because Rachel and me met in 2019 after Rachel had just finished her degree in international relations in San Francisco. She had, after growing up in the States, and had just took the leap and decided to move to Spain just from one day to the other, left her job there and started working online when she was here in Spain. So now today, after joining her and asking her if she would share the story with you, because I found it really inspiring and I wanted to also share this opportunity with you. Um, I wanted to ask Rachel together with you how this experience was for her and what she would share with you, what kind of tips you could give on this experience.
Oh, okay, yeah. Definitely, I look forward to sharing anything I can help people with because moving internationally is super hard, and there's a lot of things that you don't expect when you move.
Mhm.
So, getting a lot of help and support from other people is really important, I think.
I absolutely agree. It's also the international community is always so important, right? In the end, when you don't think about this before moving, and in the end, it's such an important part of the journey. So, yeah, how was the decision for you? Where are you based right now, Rachel?
Right now, I'm living in Sevilla after I lived in Barcelona for about half a year. I
Mm,
went back to the States and I stayed there for most of 2020, for most of the duration of the quarantine and everything. And then
mhm.
finally, I was able to get my visa and come back here to Spain. And I came back to Sevilla in November. And I've been here since. And I don't really plan on going back home anytime soon. So I'm in Spain. I might move to a different city here or travel to more places. But yeah, I definitely feel like I haven't seen as much of Spain and Europe as I like. So that's why I came back.
I'm glad to hear you liking it here, because I'm based here too. So that's great for us. So, Rachel, how was it for you to take this decision back in 2019 to, just move abroad and start a new life in Spain?
Yeah, for me, the decision, I guess it kind of came out of nowhere, but also it's something I've always wanted to do. I just never saw a way to do it.
Mm,
And I never took the leap because I never saw a way that it would be possible because I was always studying in school and they have study abroad programs in school. And I looked at the one for Spain at one point, and I always wanted to go to Spain because I want to learn Spanish. My family, my mom is speaks Spanish, but I don't speak Spanish, so I always wanted to learn, the language of my family and everything. And I thought going to Spain would be a really cool way to do that because I'd never been to Europe or seen this side of the world or anything. And so I looked into study abroad programs at one point, but they're really expensive. You have to study in the university the whole time, and
mhm.
it just didn't wasn't like the right timing, like for me financially. And I talked to people who did it as well, and they also told me like you spend so much of your time studying. They didn't really get a chance to see the country as much as they wanted to. Like they didn't really feel like they were independent because everything that you do is attached to the school. So I never ended up doing this. I graduated and I started working in a big uh, corporate environment like retail.
Mhm.
And I was doing this for about 9 months, but I was so miserable doing this job. And I felt like everything that I learned in school in international relations, I wasn't using it in this job at all. And everything that I thought was interesting about what I studied, I wasn't exploring it in reality. Like everything that we learned was just through our own research, reading, textbooks, listening to our professors. I had amazing professors in at my school that would tell us like all about their travels. Some of them were journalists. They traveled the world, lived in different countries for like 10 years and all these things. And I just felt like, okay, we're just hearing about these experiences, but none of us ever got, a lot of us never got the opportunity to do this because it's not required for our studies to go study abroad, and a lot of people can't afford it. And yeah, so I'm just hearing about all these amazing things about different countries and different cultures and everything just through reading. And this is like kind of driving me crazy because all this time I'm just staying in the same environment for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. I was living around the same area and then working in this place. I felt so like, I felt so suffocated, and I knew like I have something more to offer and more to explore. Like I think I felt like I was um, working, like not using my full potential. Like I felt like I have way more potential than what I'm doing in this moment. Like I'm not really using my intelligence to the full capacity, and this was driving me crazy, like day by day, because I felt like my um, I just felt like my curiosity is not being stimulated, my intelligence not being used, and every day I'm becoming like more and more like suffocated feeling by this. So it was just a matter of time, I guess, before it drove me so crazy, this situation, that I came up with a solution of what I can do. And if you want to know the story, let me tell you how I came across like the Girls Gone International community and everything, kind of like a weird series of events. But this girl I used to go to like middle school with, I haven't seen her since middle school. I saw her at a coffee shop randomly one day, and I was like, oh my God, blah blah blah, like her name. I was like, I haven't seen her since middle school, like what have you been doing? And I follow this girl on Facebook and Instagram, and I see she's like traveling the world, like she's been to so many countries, like her and her husband have been to so many places, and her photos are like always so amazing. And I'm like, how are you able to do this? Like I see your pictures and I haven't seen you in like, I don't know, 10 years or something. Like what have you been doing? And she's like, oh, well, I'm internationally based. I work online. I work like in customer service or something like this. And she's like, I can tell you some Facebook groups to add to you. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, add me to these groups. I want to see. And she added me to one called Digital Nomad Girls. It wasn't Girls Gone International. And also told me about some sites I can look like for jobs and things. And I was part of these groups for like months before I even posted in it, before I really even thought this was a possibility. I was just like, okay, like, I don't know. Sometimes before something happens to you, you feel like this isn't for me. This is so different than what I'm used to doing. Like, how could this be something? Like, I always work just in like really boring corporate jobs, and like I just think like, how can this be something that I can do? Like, this isn't for me, and this lifestyle seems so different than what I'm used to. It took me like months to really like post in the group and ask people questions and like ask them how they did it. But when I finally did, I told them, I said, I really, really want to move to Spain. How can this be possible? And so many people responded to my posts. They gave me like tons of ideas for what I can do, how I like teaching English was a great start to going. And I was like, what city should I go to? I don't even know like anything about Spain. And then they're like, Barcelona, you need to go to Barcelona. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Barcelona. And that's how I decided I'm going to go, is because somebody told me like online, they were like, if this is your first time going, and it was like, and you need to look for work, you can find work there, like you can do it. And I was like, well, okay, like I'm just gonna go then. Like that's how I made up my decision, pretty much through this way.
Thank you so much for sharing the story, Rachel. This is so inspiring. First of all, this, being stuck in a corporate, that I can totally, I feel you there about wanting to grow more, and this hunger for growing, constantly growing, that often in a corporate environment is not possible, right? You're stuck there in your 9 to 5 and you feel that you're more bored and more bored and more bored. And then this inspiration that comes from other digital nomads often, right? That you suddenly meet someone and they just share the story with you. And then once you are right in this international community, there's so much help there. That's what I like about the international community. That's also why I wanted to share your story and thank you for doing it, because this way you might inspire others that are in the same situation and really want to see someone that has done it before.
Yeah.
So
And I think it was kind of like meant to be for me to meet this person in the coffee shop that randomly she's like, let me add you to this Facebook group. And like, I would never have, I don't know, done this on my own if somebody didn't tell me that. So hopefully, if anyone listens to this, like they can, and they're feeling the same way, like really trapped, like there's a possibility to change your circumstances.
exactly. And how was it for you then starting to work online, Rachel? Was it a big difference to the corporate job?
Yes, it was definitely a big adjustment because you have to manage yourself and manage your own time. And it's really scary because you're not sure, like, I mean, everything is on your shoulders, and it's different because obviously in a corporate job, there's like a chain of management. A lot of things weren't on my shoulders. I just had to do my job and not really like worry, like show up, and I don't have to worry about a lot of things. But also it takes away the challenge of being creative, like with your time and what you like decide to do. And for me, the biggest challenge I would say with teaching online was just really learning how to be consistent and like building habits that were like going to carry me through the day. Because if you're not feeling like motivated to do the work, or you're tired, or not feeling inspired or whatever one day, like if you build up the habit, it's not going to feel so hard because you just kind of do things more automatically than every day thinking like, okay, like, do I feel like doing this? Or like, do I feel like, I don't know, going to an event in Barcelona? Like, there's always so many things going on. There's always distractions because it's such a cool like city and it's so many events going on constantly. At least when I was there, it was before COVID. But so this was hard for me to really focus. But in a way, also, it's hard to be consistent. But then when you realize, like, okay, if I don't do this, like, I can't be here, you know? Like, if I don't do this, I won't be able to support myself. I won't be able to continue my lifestyle here that I love so much. And because living there was so important to me, at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter if I'm not feeling focused one day, I'm just going to do it and not think about anything else, because it is on my shoulders. In a way, it's a lot of pressure, but also I'm not going to like let myself down because I know like this is important to me. So I feel like I have to follow through on things that mean a lot to me. And living there at the time like was a big deal to like leave my home, because everybody in my home thought I was crazy, and I don't want to like prove them right. I was like, I'm gonna prove them wrong.
And you did even twice. You didn't let yourself stop in 2020 when things got difficult, and now you're again in Sevilla. So kudos to you. I
Yeah.
fully agree with you. It's a totally different sense of ownership also, as well as responsibility, right? You kind of learn to get into the habits, and also the sense what motivates you in the end is keeping the freedom, right? The freedom of being able to own your day and being your own boss. What was it for you? How was this feeling for you of being your own boss? Was there also a positive side to it, or would you say it's rather a daunting situation if you put it in a balance? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like of course there's pros and cons for everything, but I really agree with you. Like for me, having my freedom was like a huge motivational piece to everything. And so, I mean, I think everybody has their weaknesses, okay? And I think if you know yourself, you know, like certain places that you could improve on, or your faults, let's say. So I know what my faults is. And I guess the downside to being your own boss is this will scare me sometimes, because I think like, oh, what if I don't know, I do this thing that I have a bad habit of doing, and in the end, like, it doesn't work out, or it gets me because I'm like procrastinating, or I'm doing something like this. So the fear is daunting to be your own boss, because you're your own worst enemy, basically. Like, everything
You're so right.
you know, and but also the great thing about it, so the pro is like you can also be like your own best friend, like your own hero kind of, because you're your own boss, you're in charge of yourself. This also feels amazing because you don't answer to anyone except you, and uh, it makes you grow a lot as a person, because now I feel that I have a lot more self accountability. So if I do something wrong, instead of either like denying it or pretending like it wasn't a problem, I can own up to it. But also, I don't like, everyone has their mean bosses. Like, I'm not a mean boss to myself. I'm not like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this horrible, like punish myself. Like, no. So this is a good thing about it too, is like I understand where I went wrong, and I can be accountable to myself and just try to always improve on areas that I feel I need improvement, and always like looking for growth. But I'm not like, beating into myself like constantly, like, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, that would be overwhelming. So I think the best part is just having control over how you can treat yourself, and you can decide, like, treat yourself with kindness and compassion to get the best results, or you can not, and you're not going to get as good results in the end, I think.
And Rachel, now that we're speaking about this so important topic, what would you say does it take to be an outstanding CEO? Which tips would you give others that are starting an online career and that maybe are also leading teams? Yeah.
Um, I would say, like, for me, one of the most important things of being CEO, because when you send me the questions, I never considered myself of being a CEO. But then the more that I think about it, is really, I guess I am, because I'm CEO of like my own time, like where I put my energy, because I don't really have to 100% answer to like any one person or any one company like that has control over me. So because I'm the one being in control, I guess that would constitute being like a CEO. So I would say the most important thing to being a good one of your life is, well, one, you have to have like really good time management, because you have to understand like where you're spending your time.
Mm.
And I'm not saying that to be like really, really strict with yourself. You don't have to have the same schedule every day, because that's what I was doing before, and that's what I don't want. Like, I don't have the same schedule every day, and I have flexibility. What I'm saying about time management is everything that I put my time and my energy towards is something that is a benefit to me, something that I value, something that I really will enjoy doing, is going to help me in some way, is going to serve me, or it's just something that is like really important to me, and that I would never like want to miss out on, I would say. So it doesn't mean like you have to do boring things all the time. It's just like you think in a different way, where it's like, okay, how can I spend my time that is going to be beneficial to me? And it's always different. It's like, okay, I can spend more time working so I can earn more money, or which I can use for things that I enjoy doing. I can spend time with like friends that I enjoy being with, and this is beneficial to me because they make me feel happy, and I need this in my life. So everybody has, I think, different values and needs. And so I always just want to make sure I'm like putting my time towards like one of these things that is important for me. And then what would be another tip? I don't know. I would say being, I don't know, just really honest with yourself, of like being a friend to yourself, not being overly harsh on yourself, and giving yourself like space, and being understanding to yourself in a way that you can be honest with yourself. Because I think sometimes human beings, like if we're in difficult situations, it's hard to be honest, like really say like, okay, this is an area I need improvement in, or I need to improve in this, but it's okay, like it's going to happen with time, and growth is not linear, like it's a process. And so for me, being like honest with what I want, my goals, my areas I have improvement in with myself. And like sometimes I just journal so I can like really understand like where I need to move forward. This has been like super helpful. And it's not really something that I was like placing a huge importance on before I started like working alone, because I was always working with so many people. And now that I'm like working alone, I have a different perspective like on my own needs and how I can be like more honest with like what I want and what I'm doing with my life, you know.
Thank you so much for sharing, Rachel. I was in a similar situation like you for a long time to really see myself as a CEO. And I have the impression in our community of entrepreneurs, this leads to the point where we feel really alone in our CEO roles and we don't really share with each other how it is. And often when I end up having these conversations and when I finally realize that I'm having the CEO role and I started to exchange with others entrepreneurs, I really realized that we often have the same challenges and the same topics. And this is so empowering. I think that this is a topic that we need to raise more awareness of, that we are in the CEO roles, we are leading our own businesses and being the CEOs of our lives. And thank you so much for sharing all your tips on this subject, Rachel, today. One last question before we hop off here. Would you do it again?
Oh my gosh, I would 1000% do it again. That was probably like one of the best decisions I ever made, was just to like get up and go. And it was not a smooth journey. I didn't have a lot of savings. I didn't have a lot of experience in what I was doing. But for me, this is the only way I could have done it, was just to get up and do it. I just couldn't wait anymore and watch more of my life go by in a way that I'm not enjoying it. So for every rough patch that happened along the way, every bump in the road, there's like 10 million more good things that offset whatever negative experience I've had. So I would 1000% do it again. It was amazing.
Then thank you so much for your insights today, Rachel. With your approval, I'd share your Instagram handle below so that if anyone wants to ask you a question, they could message you if that's okay for you.
Yes, of course. You can, anybody can ask me questions or contact me anytime. I love to help anyone if I can.
Thank you so much. And yeah, it was really nice to have you here. Thanks for your time, Rachel. And hopefully we see one of these days in Spain, in Sevilla or Barcelona or any other city.
I'm sure we will, because this summer I'll be traveling. I come to Barcelona, and if you're there or if you're not there, we can meet and travel somewhere. So I'm sure our paths will cross.
Absolutely. Let's plan something.
Okay.
So let me finish here and talk to you soon, Rachel. Thanks a lot for having me on here today.
Thank you. Bye.